start off, Keogh, I think by first and foremost making crystal clear the way Preston North End handled all of this was absolutely tip-top. You couldn't have asked any more of them.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say that I didn't know what to expect. I don't think anyone knows what to expect. But credit to Preston, well, more than credit. Thank you to Preston, I suppose. They handled it fantastically. They lay in the reef in front of our fans, applauding, honouring the silence.
The singing of both anthems?
Yeah. Just handled it really, really well. I know they had a part to play in the commemorative programme that went out before the game as well. Can't say much more other than thank you.
It's important, I think, to remember that. And all the way through this, it's been, what's one of the things that's been striking, I think, Sean, is that the football world, to use that phrase that I think gets overused at times, has just been really supportive of Liverpool, really supportive of the family of Diogo and Andre. It's worth always pointing that out because they're both footballers. You felt that comes through with it, and I think it came through today with Preston massively.
Yeah, it did. To be fair, I think, it was all ends of the ground standing up singing the Jota song, wasn't there? There was a moment on 20 minutes, I think, where our end stood up and then it just sort of, almost like a Mexican wave, just went round the ground and everyone was stood up, everyone was clapping. All very respectful, which you would expect, but it is nice to see it when it happens, do you know what I mean? And I think that you do respect it a little bit more, particularly when you're there and you're sort of feeling it and you're seeing what... It was just it wasn't a nice atmosphere because that's the wrong word, but it didn't feel too horrible, if that makes sense.
Well, what I thought was really interesting was the way the atmosphere felt was there was obviously the commemorative stuff beforehand, then some singing, then there was a bit of a break to what you'd feel was a normal pre-season, then there was 20 minutes on the 20-minute moment onwards, and then second half there was a return to in and out of normality, back to tributes, and then there was the end. The very end of the match with the whole squad and coaching staff in front of the end. And that felt like the most emotionally intense moment for everyone. For the players, but for us, but for the players being the priority because a number of them looked deeply moved, looked upset, to be frank. And there's still a long way to go in terms of their own processes.
Yeah, Keogh said before he didn't know what to expect, and I sort of thought I knew what to expect, which is everything up until the end of the game. And I think at the end of the game, you're up close, you're with the players, you are seeing, as you say, how visibly upset they are. I think I mentioned it before on something, but it actually it hit me a little bit that because you're looking at Van Dijk, he looks visibly really sort of upset by it all, which you would be, which is fine. But I think just to see it that close to him, to see the rest of the players, to see Slot, they were stood in front of us for about 15-20 minutes, weren't they, while we were just continuously singing the song. And then I think me and you said to each other, we're going to have to sort of give them permission to leave here because this is it's going on, but they didn't want to leave. Do you know what I mean?
There was a moment where, just before you said that to Neil, the Slot walks around and says something to Van Dijk, and I'm wondering on the lines, he said, like, these will sing this forever. Yeah. I think there's something along that. I don't know what he said to him, but he sort of pointed at him to say, like, who's going to make the move?
Yeah, I honestly think the players had just stood there all night. It looked like that was something that they'd needed in all of this. They needed to just stand there, and it was a different away end to normal today, so it was slightly different, but it was still very Liverpool. It was still very, it was still one of them emotional connections that you get from time to time in a football ground, and we seem to get quite a lot of. The thing that struck me and hurt me, I say hurt me, that's the wrong word, but when Robertson just sort of got up and left, because obviously everyone else was stood there clapping, and you could see he was crying, I think, and he walked away, he grabs Curtis Jones and he walks away, and you just feel like this is really heavy. What's happened? Really heavy, and we've known about it, we've known how heavy it is, but to see it in front of your eyes, it just it wasn't great.
It feels like it's a moment that they've had with a Liverpool away end. They now disappear off on tour. They then come back. Then they've got the first time back at Anfield. They're going to have to navigate that one. Then they're going to have the Community Shield. They're going to have to navigate that one, which is going to have Wembley. And then there's going to be the first league game. And I think the first league game anyway is always has an intensity about it, Keogh. I just think they've got to take each of these steps, and we've just got to take them with them every single step of the way.
Yeah, it's why I wanted this today to go ahead. It's why I thought today was important. There's probably a massive case for postponing the game, but we said a few times this week, football is the constant. Football is the only thing that carries on through tragedies, through losing family members, through losing friends. We just continue to go to football, and that's probably the same for players. The players just want to play football. The good news is we've got a few games before that first Premier League game, because that will be the emotional one, but being able to play some football leading up to that, get a bit of normality. We're talking about football. We'll talk in a minute about how players perform today, and that's the next step, isn't it? And then after that, it's how do they look in pre-season on the tour, and then it's a Charity Shield which we all want to win, and then before you know we're back in.